The day began quietly, yet Emily already felt something heavy in her heart. She stood in her small bathroom in Portland, Oregon, staring at the warm bath she had prepared, hoping it would wash away the strange mix of loneliness and tiredness she had been carrying for weeks. The rain outside tapped softly on the window, and she thought the sound might help her calm down before her best friend Lisa and Lisa's son arrived for their short stay. Emily worked from home as a part-time designer, and life had been calm and predictable, almost too predictable. Ever since she got divorced 2 years ago, she had been trying to rebuild herself piece by piece, but some days still felt like she was walking through fog. Lisa, her closest friend since college, was the one person who understood her without judgment. That was why Emily agreed right away when Lisa said she needed a few days away from her ex-husband's chaos and wanted to bring her 15-year-old son, Ryan, with her. Emily had always liked Ryan, not in a complicated way, but simply because he was respectful, quiet, and much more thoughtful than most boys his age. He often helped his mom with groceries, fixed little things around the house, and always greeted Emily with a polite smile as if he knew she had been through enough sorrow already. But lately, Emily noticed something new about him, something subtle yet impossible to ignore. He wasn't a child anymore. His voice had deepened, his posture had changed, and he looked at the world with a seriousness she rarely saw in boys his age. Still, she never thought too deeply about it, because she trusted Lisa and trusted herself. As the water settled in the bathtub, Emily placed a few lavender candles around the room, letting their soft glow brighten the gray morning. She removed her robe and stepped inside, letting her body sink into the warmth, a comfort she hadn't felt in a long time. She closed her eyes, trying to let her thoughts drift away. But thoughts didn't drift, they tightened instead. She remembered her ex-husband's cold words, the arguments that tore their marriage apart, and the nights she cried into pillows so her neighbors wouldn't hear. She remembered telling herself she wouldn't let love happen again, because she didn't trust her own heart anymore. Still, something in her longed for connection, for warmth, for the feeling of being seen and understood. These thoughts made her chest ache. She leaned back, letting the water cover her shoulders, and breathed. That was when she heard footsteps, soft, hesitant, careful footsteps moving down the hallway just outside the bathroom. At first she thought it was Lisa. Maybe her friend had arrived earlier than expected, maybe she needed something. But the footsteps were too light for an adult. A moment later, a gentle knock followed. "Emily, are you home?" It was Ryan's voice, warm, low, polite as always. Emily's eyes snapped open, her heart jumping. She had forgotten something important. Lisa had texted her an hour earlier saying she would be late because of traffic, but she had also mentioned that she asked Ryan to go ahead and help Emily move a box from the car. Emily had read that message but somehow didn't process it before getting into the bath. She swallowed hard as the boy's shadow moved past the bathroom door, then stopped. "Emily, the front door was unlocked. I didn't want to wait outside in the rain," he said, sounding unsure. Emily froze, trying not to splash the water. "It's okay, Ryan, I'm in the bathroom," she called as calmly as she could. "Give me a minute and I'll come out." But before her words fully reached him, the door clicked. The bathroom door opened. Everything happened fast. Ryan froze in the doorway, his hoodie soaked from the rain, his backpack hanging loosely from his shoulder. His eyes widened in shock when he saw her in the bathtub, surrounded by warm candles and rising steam. Emily gasped, pulling her arms across her chest even though the water hit her shape. "Ryan," she exclaimed, her voice trembling. "Close the door, please." He blinked quickly, his face turning red, and stepped back. "I'm so sorry, I thought you said, I didn't know," he stuttered, the words falling everywhere. "It's okay, just close it," she whispered, her cheeks burning even though he couldn't see anything clearly. He pulled the door shut in a hurry, almost tripping as he backed away. Emily heard him pause. Outside, breathing unevenly, probably trying to get over the shock he wasn't ready for. Inside the bathroom, Emily covered her face with her hands, feeling embarrassment rush through her entire body. This wasn't how a calm morning was supposed to go. This wasn't how she wanted Ryan to see her. But the moment wouldn't leave her mind, his voice, the surprise in his eyes, the softness of his apology, it all lingered in the air like the steam swirling around her. She stayed in the warm water for a few more minutes, trying to gather herself, trying to understand why her heart was beating faster than it should. This was just a mistake, a simple accident, but something about it unsettled her deeply, not in a dangerous way, but in a way that pulled at her emotions. reminding her that she wasn't as numb as she thought when she got out of the bath. She wrapped herself tightly in her robe, still flustered, still thinking too much. She dried her hair quickly and stepped into the hallway. Unsure whether she was ready to face him, Ryan was standing near the living room couch, wiping rain from his hair, trying his best to look normal. He didn't turn around when she walked in, which somehow made the moment even more awkward. "Ryan, I'm really sorry you walked in like that. I should have locked the door," Emily said gently, her voice soft. He shook his head, still avoiding her eyes. "No, I should have waited outside or called first. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable." His sincerity touched her more than it should have. "It's all right, really," she replied. "It was just a silly accident." Finally he turned toward her, his face still pink from embarrassment, but his expression held something deeper than the moment deserved: worry, respect, maybe even guilt he didn't need to feel. "I didn't see anything, I swear," he said, sounding desperate to fix the situation. Emily smiled nervously. "It's okay, I believe you." He nodded. Slowly, but she could tell the moment stayed with him, just like it stayed with her. That was the part she didn't want to think about, why it stayed, why her heart still felt unsettled. She cleared her throat, trying to shift the energy. "Your mom will be here soon, you can sit and dry off." He nodded, then sat on the edge of the couch, his fingers tapping nervously against his jeans. She stepped into the kitchen, needing space, needing a breath. She poured herself a glass of water, but her hands shook slightly. The image of him standing in the doorway kept replaying in her mind, the surprise on his face, the softness in his eyes, the way the moment felt suspended in air like neither of them knew what to do. Emily leaned against the counter, whispering to herself, "It was just an accident, it meant nothing, it has to mean nothing." But part of her heart whispered something else, something she tried to silence immediately, something connected to loneliness, vulnerability, and the simple truth that she hadn't felt noticed in a long time. When Lisa finally arrived, the house filled with her bright voice and warm hugs, Emily tried to act normal, tried to hide the discomfort twisting inside her, but Ryan kept glancing her way, quiet, thoughtful, almost protective in a way she didn't understand yet. Emily felt her heartbeat shift every time he looked at her, as if something had changed, something she wasn't ready to name, something she wasn't sure she should even feel. And she wondered, as the evening settled in and they all prepared for dinner, was this strange moment just an accident? Or was it the start of something she didn't see coming? The next morning arrived with the kind of quiet that made Emily feel even more aware of everything that had happened the day before. She woke early, long before Lisa or Ryan stirred, and walked into the kitchen with a heavy sigh. The embarrassment from yesterday still sat inside her like a stone. She had barely slept, replaying the moment again and again, telling herself it should not bother her this much, but it did, and she hated that it did. She brewed coffee, trying to focus on the warm smell instead of the confusion inside her chest. She wanted to act normal today. She wanted everything to feel like nothing strange had happened. She prepared pancakes and set the table, hoping food would soften the awkwardness. It wasn't long before Ryan walked in, still wearing the same shy expression he had yesterday after the mistake. He greeted her with a quiet morning, and sat at the table without meeting her eyes. Emily forced a soft smile. "Morning, I made breakfast." "Thank you," he murmured, still nervous. For a few minutes they ate quietly, the sound of rain tapping the window filling the space between them. Emily kept telling herself to relax, to breathe, to stop overthinking, but every time she glanced at him, she felt the moment from yesterday hanging in the air like a cloud no one knew how to move. Lisa finally came downstairs, cheerful and full of energy as always. She walked straight to the table, kissing her son's head and hugging Emily tightly. "You made pancakes again, you're a blessing." Emily smiled, grateful for the distraction. Lisa filled the room with warmth, and for a moment the silence faded. After breakfast, the day moved quickly. They cleaned the living room, organized the guest room, and sorted through some old boxes Emily wanted to donate. All three worked together, laughing at silly memories and complaining about the weather. From the outside, everything looked normal, even perfect, but inside, Emily felt unsettled, like something inside her kept shifting. She noticed that Ryan stayed close to her, offering help whenever she lifted something heavy, stepping aside politely when she walked by, treating her with a seriousness he didn't need to show. At first she thought he was just being kind or trying to make up for the awkward moment, but the more she watched him, the more she realized it wasn't guilt alone. It felt like he was trying to protect her. As If he sensed she was fragile even though she tried to hide it, that small kindness reached her more deeply than she wanted to admit. Later in the afternoon, Lisa left to meet a friend for coffee, insisting she'd be back in 2 hours. Let Ryan help you move the boxes to the garage. He's strong. He needs the workout, she joked before leaving. The house grew quiet again, too quiet. Emily and Ryan carried a few boxes to the garage. The rain had stopped, leaving the driveway wet and shining under the cloudy light. As they set the last box down, Emily leaned against the wall, tired but relieved the work was done. Ryan wiped his forehead with his sleeve and let out a soft laugh. Your garage is like a maze. I could get lost in here, Emily chuckled. You should have seen it last year. It was much worse. Then a silence fell again, one too heavy for the moment. Ryan looked down at his shoes, shifting nervously. Emily, I really am sorry for yesterday. I didn't mean to walk in or make you uncomfortable. She inhaled slowly, grateful for his sincerity. I know you didn't, and I'm not upset with you. It was just an accident. Let's forget it happened, he nodded. But the worry in his eyes said he couldn't forget it as easily as she hoped. Then he said something unexpected, something that made her heart stutter for a second. I didn't want you to think I was disrespecting you, or that I see you in a wrong way. I would never do that. Emily felt her breath catch, not because his words were inappropriate, but because they were mature, thoughtful, too aware for his age. She could feel the weight behind them, the responsibility he carried even when he didn't need to. She stepped forward slightly, speaking gently. Ryan, I don't think anything bad about you. You're a good kid. You just made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. He nodded again, but he looked disappointed when she called him a kid. She didn't notice his reaction right away, but she felt a strange heaviness in the air, as if something invisible shifted between them. They walked back inside, both quieter than before. The afternoon passed slowly. Emily tried to write emails on her laptop but couldn't concentrate. Every word she typed looked blurry. Her thoughts kept drifting to her life, her loneliness, her fear of letting people close. She wondered if this strange tension she felt was simply a reflection of her own heart, craving care, craving something warm after years of coldness. Maybe she was reading too deeply into everything. Maybe she was projecting her feelings onto a moment that meant nothing. Maybe the problem was not Ryan at all. Maybe it was her. She shook her head, pushing the thoughts away. She refused to create a problem that wasn't there. She refused to let her fragile emotions confuse things. By the time Lisa returned, the house felt lighter again. Her bright personality melted the awkwardness like sunlight breaking through clouds. She planned a movie night, insisting it would be fun for all three of them. They made popcorn, grabbed blankets, and sat in the living room, Lisa in the middle, Emily on one side, Ryan on the other. Halfway through the movie, Lisa got a phone call from her ex-husband. She stepped out to answer, leaving Emily and Ryan alone again. The room felt different without Lisa's presence. The movie played softly, but neither of them paid attention. Ryan glanced at Emily, hesitated, then whispered softly, "Are you okay?" Emily turned to him, surprised. "Why do you ask?" "You look sad today," he said, his voice gentle, not judging, not curious, just concerned, like something is hurting you. The honesty in his words made her chest tighten. She didn't expect him to notice something even Lisa sometimes missed. She didn't know what to say. She didn't want to burden him with her adult problems. She didn't want to reveal the truth, that seeing herself through his eyes yesterday made her confront the loneliness she had been hiding for so long. She whispered, "I'm fine, just tired." But he shook his head slightly. "You don't have to pretend with me. I know adults hide things. My mom does it all the time. I can tell when she's sad too." Emily felt her throat tighten. The boy wasn't trying to cross the line. He wasn't trying to be anything other than kind. He was simply someone who understood sadness because he had seen it in his own home. Before she could answer, Lisa walked back in, looking frustrated from her phone call. She flopped onto the couch and pressed play again. Filling the silence, Emily felt relief and guilt mix inside her. Later that night, after the movie ended, Lisa and Ryan went to the guest room they shared during trips like this. Emily stood in the hallway, watching them disappear behind the door. Ryan paused for a split second and glanced back at her, his eyes soft, thoughtful, almost protective again. Emily looked away quickly, her heart unsteady. She whispered to herself as she turned off the lights, "I need to get control of myself. I need to stop feeling this way." But deep down, she knew the truth. It wasn't the accidental moment that changed something inside her. It was the way the boy looked at her with understanding. The way he saw her sadness even when she tried to hide it. The way he treated her with care she hadn't felt from anyone in a long time. She went to bed with those thoughts pressing against her heart, the weight of them too heavy for sleep. As she closed her eyes, one question echoed in her mind: what if the moment in the bathroom wasn't the beginning of trouble, but the moment that revealed how broken she truly felt inside? The next morning arrived with a restless sky hanging low over Portland. Emily woke before the alarm, staring at the ceiling as sunlight slowly crept across her bedroom walls. She felt tired, not because of lack of sleep, but because her thoughts had worked through the night without stopping, thoughts about her life, her loneliness, and the strange emotional storm that had been building inside her ever since yesterday's conversation with Ryan. She sat up slowly, rubbing her face, telling herself she needed to stay strong today. Lisa and Ryan were leaving tomorrow, and she wanted everything to feel normal again. She wanted the house to feel warm, not heavy with emotion she didn't understand. After a long breath, she walked out to the kitchen to make breakfast. She fried eggs, toasted bread, sliced fruit, anything to distract her mind from the heaviness in her chest. As she placed the plates on the table, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned and saw Ryan, tired but awake, wearing that same quiet expression he always had in the morning. "Morning, Emily," he said. "Morning," she replied, trying to sound calmer than she felt. He sat down at the table and thanked her softly. He didn't look embarrassed anymore, but he looked worried, like he sensed something in her heart had shifted. She sat across from him, eating quietly. The silence was thick but gentle, not awkward like yesterday. Instead, it felt like both of them were thinking about everything that had been said, especially the moment during the movie night when he told her she didn't need to pretend she was okay. Emily felt that moment replay in her mind again and again. It wasn't the words that shook her, but the care behind them, the sincerity of someone who understood sadness, even though he was young. She finished breakfast quickly and stood up to clean, but Ryan spoke before she could escape the table. "Emily," he said softly, "you don't have to tell me anything, but I hope you're okay today." His tone was gentle, not crossing boundaries, not trying to be older than he was, just honest. Emily paused, her hands gripping the edge of the table, her throat tightened. She forced a small smile. "I'm okay, Ryan, just have a lot on my mind." He nodded slowly, accepting her answer, even though she knew he felt there was more. Before she could say anything else, Lisa came downstairs, cheerful as always, giving the morning a brighter tone. Lisa hugged Emily tightly, telling her she slept like a rock and needed a good walk to start the day. "Let's go out later, the three of us, maybe get lunch at the waterfront," Lisa suggested. Emily nodded, grateful for the idea. They got ready quickly and drove to the waterfront. The air smelled like wet pine and fresh river wind. The rain had finally slowed, leaving everything clean and shiny. People walked dogs, couples strolled along the edge, children laughed near food stands. Emily felt herself soften a little, letting the peaceful scenery calm the storm inside her. Lisa chatted nonstop about her ex-husband, her job, her old college stories, anything that came to her mind. Emily laughed and listened, grateful for the distraction. Ryan walked beside them, quiet but observant, occasionally smiling at something Lisa said, occasionally glancing at Emily with subtle concern. The three of them got burgers from a nearby stand and sat by the water, watching the river drift by. For a moment, everything felt normal, but normal didn't last long. Lisa got a phone call from work and stepped away to answer it, leaving Emily and Ryan alone again. The river breeze was cold but gentle, the sound of water soft and steady. Ryan looked down at his hands, then spoke. "Emily, can I ask you something?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Sure. What is it?" "Yesterday, during the movie, when I said you looked sad," he said quietly, "I didn't mean to upset you. I just wanted you to know someone noticed." Emily felt her chest tighten again. "You didn't upset me," she whispered. "I just don't want you to worry about me. You're young, you shouldn't carry other people's problems." He shook his head. "I'm not trying to carry anything, I just know what sadness looks like. I see it in my mom sometimes, and I saw it in you." Emily felt something inside her break softly, not in a painful way, but in a healing way, as if someone finally saw through her walls. She looked toward the river, her voice barely steady. "I've been lonely for a long time, Ryan. I've been trying to pretend I'm fine, but some days it's harder than others." He didn't speak, but his silence was understanding. She continued softly, "Yesterday's accident just made me realize how fragile I still am, and I didn't like feeling that way, that's all." Ryan nodded slowly. "I get that, I think anyone would." She turned to him. "Thank you for caring, it means a lot." But it also means you need to remember I'm an adult and you don't have to fix anything for me. His expression softened, respectful. I know, I just didn't want you to feel alone. Emily felt warmth spread through her heart, not romantic warmth, not anything inappropriate, but the warm feeling of being understood by someone who saw her pain clearly. It was the kind of understanding she used to wish her ex-husband could give her. Lisa finished her phone call and returned with her usual energy. Breaking the heavy moment, she didn't notice anything strange. She just grabbed her fries back and kept talking, making the world feel normal again. They walked along the river for another hour before heading home. That evening, they ordered pizza and played a board game, laughing loudly as Lisa made up ridiculous rules. The house felt alive, brighter, full of warmth. As the night ended, Emily stood quietly in the hallway as Lisa and Ryan prepared their room for sleep. Ryan looked back at her once again, but this time his eyes did not hold confusion or worry. They held a calm understanding, deep respect, and something gentle that made her heart ache in a way that felt safe, not dangerous. Good night, Emily, he said softly. Good night, Ryan, she whispered. She went to bed, feeling lighter than the night before. But the story wasn't over. Not yet. The next morning, Lisa and Ryan packed their things. The goodbye felt harder than usual. As Ryan lifted his backpack, he paused in front of Emily. I'm glad you told me the truth yesterday, he said quietly. You're stronger than you think. I hope you know that. Emily felt tears gather in her eyes, the soft, grateful kind. Thank you, she whispered. And thank you for being kind, even when you didn't have to. They didn't hug, they didn't cross any lines, they simply stood there, understanding each other in a way that felt healthy and real. Lisa came over and hugged Emily tightly, promising they would visit again soon, and just like that, they were gone. When the house finally fell silent, Emily sat on the couch, breathing deeply, letting the empty space settle around her. But this silence didn't feel cold. It felt like the beginning of something new. She realized that what happened in the bathroom was not the start of trouble. It was the moment that forced her to see her own heart clearly. She wasn't fragile because of the incident. She was fragile because she had forgotten how strong she could be. Ryan didn't change her life with an accident. He changed it with kindness, sensitivity, and the simple truth that sometimes the people we least expect can help us see ourselves again. Emily closed her eyes and whispered into the quiet room, I'm going to be okay, I'm finally going to be okay. And for the first time in years, she truly believed it.